Emily Davis had been missing for days, and when police arrived at the Johnson family home, they found her handcuffed and chained in the backyard. Mark, Lisa, Jason, and Anthony, the 5 people who orchestrated her captivity, thought no one would ever discover their plan. What unfolds next is a shocking tale of deception, terror, and survival that shook an entire Texas town. On a quiet, sun-soaked street in a small Texas town, the morning started like any other. Birds chirped, mail carriers made their rounds, and neighbors sipped coffee on their porches. But the calm was shattered when a passerby noticed something deeply disturbing in the backyard of a modest, single-story home. A woman was there, bound in handcuffs and chained to a fence, her clothes torn and face streaked with dirt and tears. Panic immediately spread through the neighborhood. People whispered in shock, unsure whether to call authorities or rush to help. Police arrived within minutes, their sirens cutting through the otherwise peaceful morning. Officers approached cautiously, aware that the situation could be volatile. The woman appeared disoriented, swaying slightly as she tried to free herself. The handcuffs were heavy, the chains rusted but secure, and the length of time she had been restrained was painfully evident. Her hair was matted, her body weak, and her eyes carried a mix of fear and relief as officers reached her. The scene suggested more than a sudden attack. This was prolonged captivity. Investigators combed the backyard, finding scattered items that hinted at the ordeal. Pieces of torn clothing, remnants of meals, and makeshift bedding suggested she had been held for days, if not longer. Each clue painted a picture of calculated cruelty. The simplicity of the suburban setting made the scene even more horrifying. It was a place where children played and families gathered, yet it had become a site of unimaginable terror. Neighbors gathered at a safe distance, their curiosity and fear mixing in the humid air. Whispers of disbelief floated through the crowd. Who would do something like this? How could it happen right here, in a quiet, seemingly safe neighborhood? As police worked, the woman's identity was confirmed. She was known locally, and her disappearance had already raised alarm in recent days. Friends and family arrived, desperate for answers, their faces pale with worry. The initial assessment indicated that the woman had been confined against her will, and her escape or rescue was more a stroke of fate than chance. Law enforcement began documenting the scene meticulously, photographing every detail and collecting physical evidence. The tension in the air was palpable. This was only the beginning of a case that would uncover secrets, betrayals, and a plot so disturbing it seemed almost unreal. The quiet street had transformed into the starting point of a story that would shock an entire community. As soon as the woman was taken to safety, authorities began a thorough investigation, knowing that time was critical in uncovering the truth. Detectives arrived at the property with flashlights, gloves, and cameras, documenting every inch of the backyard and the house. The ground was disturbed, footprints and marks suggesting movement over several days. Duct tape fragments, a worn rope, and remnants of makeshift restraints were carefully collected as evidence. Each item told a story, a small piece of the puzzle that revealed the planning and cruelty behind the crime. The house from the outside had seemed ordinary. Law enforcement officers had passed it countless times without suspicion. Inside, however, the reality was chilling. Drawers contained handwritten notes with cryptic instructions, while digital devices hinted at communication between multiple people. Investigators began piecing together a timeline. The woman had been followed, trapped, and held in the backyard against her will. Her friends revealed that she had distanced herself from a group of people who had recently shown an unusual interest in her personal affairs. Each lead added to the emerging picture of a crime carefully plotted rather than a random act of violence. Surveillance footage from nearby homes became a critical component of the investigation. Cameras revealed shadowy figures moving around the property late at night. Their actions were methodical, carrying items, securing the woman, and watching for anyone who might approach. It became clear that whoever was responsible had anticipated her escape and had taken measures to prevent it. Authorities also discovered online activity suggesting that some individuals had been tracking her movements for weeks. The combination of physical and digital evidence painted a frighteningly organized picture of captivity. The investigation also uncovered the psychological toll on the victim. Her disorientation, fear, and confusion were consistent with prolonged trauma, and authorities knew that her testimony would be crucial. Medical personnel assessed her condition, documenting injuries, malnutrition, and the physical marks of restraint. Every detail supported the idea that this was a coordinated, deliberate act. Detectives worked tirelessly to connect the dots, aware that time was of the essence. By the end of the first day, it was clear that the case involved multiple perpetrators. Investigators were no longer just dealing with a single crime, they were unraveling a network of people who had conspired to control, intimidate, and harm the woman. The complexity of the plot would soon become apparent, leaving the town shocked and setting the stage for revelations that nobody could have anticipated. As detectives delved deeper into the investigation, hidden connections began to emerge, shocking everyone involved. The backyard captivity was not the work of a single person acting on impulse, it was a carefully orchestrated plan executed by multiple individuals. Surveillance footage, witness statements, and digital trails revealed that 5 people had played distinct roles in the woman's ordeal. Some had provided the tools and materials used to restrain her, others had monitored her movements, and one had been responsible for tracking her daily routines to ensure the plan remained undetected. Each detail added a layer of complexity that seemed almost impossible to believe. Authorities discovered that the conspirators were not strangers. They had known the woman previously, which explained how they could gain so much information about her habits. Financial disputes, personal grudges, and long-standing grudges had created a toxic network, fueling the motivation behind her capture. Digital evidence showed cryptic messages exchanged between the suspects, outlining steps to intimidate, control, and manipulate the victim. Investigators realized that without immediate intervention, the situation could have escalated into something far more dangerous. Physical evidence from the property corroborated these findings. Makeshift restraints, food supplies, and discarded personal items indicated premeditation. The investigators also noticed patterns suggesting that the captors had taken turns monitoring the woman, making sure she could not escape. Forensic analysis confirmed that the chains and handcuffs were not randomly acquired, but sourced specifically for this purpose. Each small discovery painted a picture of calculated cruelty, leaving authorities astounded at the meticulous planning involved. The psychological element of the case added another layer of intrigue. Experts consulted by law enforcement explained that this kind of conspiracy required coordination, control, and manipulation, highlighting the disturbing level of intent behind the crime. The woman's resilience, though, became a central focus. Despite fear and exhaustion, she had survived under conditions designed to break her. Her ability to remain alive and coherent until discovery became a key factor in piecing together the network of individuals responsible. By the time investigators had mapped the relationships and motives of the suspects, it became clear that the story was far from over. The plot went beyond a single incident of violence, it was a deliberate, interconnected scheme. Each revelation brought new questions. How long had the group planned this? What other crimes might they have been involved in? And how many more people were aware of the plot? The answers would soon lead to shocking arrests, exposing the sinister reach of a group that had hidden in plain sight, ready to strike again if not stopped. With mounting evidence in hand, law enforcement moved quickly to bring the suspects to justice. The investigation had uncovered enough proof to secure warrants, and authorities coordinated a series of strategic arrests to prevent the group from warning one another. Early in the morning, police quietly approached each suspect's residence. The neighborhood, still reeling from the discovery of the woman in the backyard, watched as officers moved with precision and purpose. The arrests were executed without confrontation, but the calm demeanor of the suspects did little to ease the tension. Their composed faces hinted at the chilling confidence with which they had carried out their scheme. Inside the interrogation rooms, the atmosphere was tense. Investigators meticulously questioned each individual, piecing together roles and responsibilities. Some admitted to minor involvement, claiming they had only helped with logistics or delivered supplies, while others gradually confessed to more direct participation in restraining the woman. Details emerged that shocked even seasoned detectives. The conspirators had tracked her movements for weeks, coordinated schedules to avoid suspicion, and prepared contingencies in case she attempted to escape. The level of planning was far beyond what investigators had initially imagined, and the web of connections revealed a frightening degree of premeditation. Confessions confirmed that the woman's ordeal had been more dangerous than anyone had first realized. The group had intended to hold her longer, with plans to coerce money from her family and manipulate her psychologically. Investigators discovered hidden messages, coded instructions, and carefully concealed tools that had all been part of the plot. Each arrest uncovered additional evidence, from vehicles used to transport items to secret communications documenting their intentions. The meticulous documentation left no doubt about the conspiracy's scope, and the town grappled with the realization that people they knew, or at least trusted, had been capable of orchestrating such cruelty. As the suspects were transported to the county jail, the impact of their capture resonated throughout the community. Friends and family of the woman expressed a mix of relief and disbelief, struggling to reconcile the shocking events with the seemingly ordinary lives of those involved. Law enforcement continued their work, ensuring every piece of evidence was secured for prosecution. While the arrests marked a critical turning point, they also revealed the broader implications of the case, highlighting the danger of hidden networks operating in plain sight. The quiet Texas town, forever changed, faced the reality that such darkness could exist just beyond the fences of its peaceful streets, and that justice had only just begun to unfold. After the arrests, the focus shifted to recovery and reflection, both for the victim and the community. The woman, now free from her restraints, began the slow and difficult process of physical and emotional healing. Medical professionals treated her injuries, while counselors worked to help her process the trauma she had endured. Every day brought small victories, restoring strength, recalling details, and regaining a sense of safety, but the shadow of what had happened lingered. The ordeal had left scars, both visible and invisible, serving as a reminder of the calculated cruelty she had survived. Law enforcement continued to build the case against the 5 suspects, carefully organizing evidence for the upcoming trials. Each piece of digital communication, each photograph, and every confession played a critical role in illustrating the depth of the conspiracy. Prosecutors prepared to demonstrate how the plan had been meticulously coordinated, highlighting the roles of each individual in the scheme. The legal process promised justice, but it also reminded the public of the complexity of crimes involving multiple perpetrators acting in concert. The small Texas town grappled with a new reality. Residents who had once felt secure in their familiar surroundings now understood how deception and danger could hide in plain sight. Experts in psychology and criminal behavior were brought in to explain how such conspiracies form, emphasizing warning signs and the importance of vigilance. Community meetings and news reports focused on prevention and awareness, turning the shocking events into a lesson in caution and resilience. Meanwhile, the woman's story became a symbol of survival. Despite the calculated efforts to control and terrify her, she had endured, emerging with the strength to rebuild her life. Her courage inspired others, reminding the community that even in the darkest moments, resilience and hope could prevail. Friends, neighbors, and strangers alike expressed support, sending messages of solidarity and admiration. Though the legal proceedings were far from over, the immediate danger had passed. The woman's ordeal underscored the fragility of safety and the importance of paying attention to subtle signs of trouble. As investigators continued their work behind the scenes, the community learned a valuable lesson. Evil can lurk in unexpected places, but determination, vigilance, and courage can expose it. In the aftermath, the town faced a long road to healing. But the story of survival, resilience, and justice offered a glimmer of hope that light could emerge even after the darkest of nights.